hello and welcome back to our garden. I know it's been a little while since I've given you like a proper regular updates on the garden, and we'll come back to that, what my plans are, I suppose, for the summer months. But I thought today we'll just do a proper garden tour just to get you updated, what's growing, how the areas are looking like, because it's been since spring we did a proper garden tour anyway. So we'll have a look at areas, and especially areas that I actually haven't been showing you during, let's say, the month of April or May. So if you've been with me for a while, you know, or you'd recognize what place I'm starting from, and it is the Cottage Garden side. And from here we'll move through, let's say, the rose garden, we'll have a look at the field, kitchen garden, greenhouse, all that. Oh, and I have something new to show you as well. We have some new feathered friends that have joined the flock, so I'll show you that as well at the end. Now I'm really glad to say that the cottage garden area is looking beautiful. The plants themselves are really starting to knit together, so you can see the gaps as well. Now obviously there are still some gaps here and there where the plants just didn't survive the winter, but otherwise they are starting to expand, and yeah, you can see the bare ground as easily. And really the only maintenance I've had to do in here is just to do deadheading and a bit of weeding, not an awful lot. And as I'm talking to you, I can literally see more weeds still that I missed, but deadheading, weeding, yeah, that's about it at the moment. For instance, on this side, you can really see how big the plants have been growing. So you'd have the elderberry, you have hydrangea, Joe Pye weed, obviously the shoots of the rose that are coming up. But for instance, with the Joe Pye weed and even the hydrangea, like they die down quite a bit for the winter season. So, well, especially with Joe Pye weed, so you really don't see any of that kind of growth. And as the years go on and the plant itself will mature more, you'll have more stems, they'll be bigger, stronger every year. So even in here now, yeah, it's the roses are really coming together. There's beautiful flowers here. And yeah, the deadheading is the main theme in this area at the moment. You have a bit of mullein flowering here, so pretty and dainty. And then there's a lupin as well. I have a few chives. The flower heads have gone over geranium in the front, and then you have astilbes that are starting to only show colour. Hellebor's obviously gone over only the fresh new foliage at the moment, and then a couple of grasses mixed in. There'll be another couple of months before the sedums are going to be showing their flower heads, but the nepeta and then salvias are really flowering strongly, and obviously the grasses on the background. So they're really gelling together. They have come together quite well. And if we're sort of moving along the border here from the salvias, again you'll have the sedums mix. Now in here in the front, obviously the really nice and area, so dainty Telictrum or meadow is flowering, and that was so much weaker last year because again all of these plants are new, they're fresh plants, so they do need at least one season to settle properly in. And I suppose the background at the moment, like you'll see a bit of flowers, there's big foxgloves, which are native foxgloves. It's just a lot of the plants are still settling in, or at least if I've upset them with moving them, they're starting to just put down their fresh roots again. And like the sedum here in front of me is just grown so big, like really big. I didn't expect it to expand that much in one season. And if I come away from that circular mulched area back onto the footpath, you can clearly see how tall this Veronicastrum is here. Again, another herbaceous perennial that just dies so cleanly down for the winter season, and you've no idea it's still there. It's just beautiful. So it's really only starting now to open its flowers, but between like the peony that I moved this spring only, it's absolutely happy out, delighted to see that. We have verbenas and again grasses just softly, I suppose, softening actually overall this kind of a more rigid branch work between the roses, nepetas, And looking around this season now, really, the salvias and the peaches, I highly recommend to add some varieties of either or of them, or both if you could find space for them. But they're just beautiful. They're so nice and easy plants to keep, and then obviously the flowers are just beautiful as well. But yeah, overall, I suppose there's plenty of flowers here. This rose has been broken by the wind. There's plenty of colour, and there's plenty of more actual flower heads to open. And if you can see the small pink salvia there, that's picking up so wonderfully from the colours of the roses here, and then having that contrasting blue in between them. Really pretty. And there's more pink coming, there's more pink, and there's obviously the blue tone. So pinks and blues are really the colours at the moment here. And as long as the plants thrive and survive, they are only going to be growing bigger, and I don't have to worry about the gaps as much as in here at the moment. There's still some gaps, but I know there's also areas that a couple of plants haven't survived, so I do have to add something new into some of these spaces. But let's go over to the actual rose garden now and have a look in there as well. I suppose the rose garden is not doing too badly either, except that I decided not to spray my roses this spring, because last year I had an awful issue with the rose slug, and I have exactly the same issue this year as well. And I really did contemplate between buying the spray, the sort of chemicals, even if they're sort of organic, but I didn't go for it. I said I'm just going to take a chance, and there's a lot of black spot, a lot of slug damage again on the roses. But it's not too bad because there is so much fresh foliage still coming up. There are so many fresh flower buds on the plants themselves. And I've tried to remove as many of the, I suppose, affected leaves, and to reduce the amount of slugs there are on the leaves themselves. But inevitably, it's going to travel. Now, I was really hoping to show you an update in this area when the peonies were in full flower, but unfortunately we literally had like 2 weeks of full-on rain and winds, and peonies flowered exactly during that time. So unfortunately, they're finished now. So there's only a couple of flower heads, and they still smell amazing. Obviously, so do the roses. But yeah, it wasn't to be. And this area here is really filled with a lot of scent, and I know the scent is coming from that climbing rose at the moment. It's just stunning. But then again, visually at the moment, it's a lot of these bluey pink tones, very similar to the cottage garden, because I have the mix of salvia and nepeta here in the planters. Again, obviously the pink, and then there's a little bit more of a red, or this kind of a deeper burgundy tones on some of the roses here as well. But then those really soft pinks, and then the lavender. There's a lot of lavender around us, a couple of foxgloves again. So the theme and the color scheme is very, very similar, really nice and soft, and very easy on the eye for sure. Now, before we actually enter to the kitchen garden side, I will not hide the fact that I never dug out the big Clematis montana that was going over the pergola. I never did anything with it, and this has become like a huge mound of branches and leaves. And I'm just totally ignoring it. I'm not even stressing about it. this is going to be autumn, winter, next spring's issue. There is no point me attacking it now. There's too much foliage on it. I have to wait until the plant goes into dormancy over winter, and I'll have a look then. But it will come out of there. It's just too big, too vigorous, as I've said before. But otherwise, as far as this kind of the barbecue area goes, there isn't much growing. The big oriental lilies haven't opened here yet, so we don't get the scent from this yet. One gladiola has opened though, and otherwise, yeah, at the moment it's just this kind of a lush of green, not that much colour in this area. But obviously, as you see, as we're going now into the beds of the kitchen garden, calendula and borage are flowering their hearts out. The apple trees are absolutely laden with apples. We have phlox flowering, geranium flowering here, and there's lupins further down as well. But at the moment, all the pop of colour is all coming from the calendula. Really pretty, obviously edible and pollinator friendly plant as well. So you know that we're coming away from purely ornamentals into the edible side of the garden. Now in the kitchen garden, a lot has grown as well. As you see, again, now if you focus on the colour here, you see a lot of borage. So I ended up leaving a lot of the seedlings still in, and again, they're flowering, they're providing so much fantastic nectar for the bumblebees that are just buzzing all around me here as well. And for instance, this was the bed where I had the overwintering onions, red and the white, and they're still in the ground. They're starting to show signs though that they are getting ready, and some are really decent size. I genuinely did not expect it. I am pleasantly surprised by it. And even some of them that have gone into flower, I haven't harvested those yet, which would be for fresh eating. But this bed is doing beautifully. So within a couple of weeks for sure, I will have the onions harvested from here as well. And again, a lot of calendula snuck itself in between the plants. And I had more onions here. I have brought beans here, which are all cropping really nicely now. Peas, that's the Kelvin and Wonder variety here. The pods are stunning on them, and some of the pods are starting to really properly thicken now as well. But at least the runner beans have found their mojo and are absolutely flowering their hearts out as well. And they're really thriving now with their climb up here, because the winds had knocked them around earlier in the season, so they didn't quite get their grips around the nets. But once I supported them a little bit, they were happy to just keep growing here. But otherwise, yeah, more onions, peas, beans, broad beans. Yeah, they're all doing well. Now the front bed here, I have been harvesting the purple sprouting broccoli from here. There's still a couple of heads coming out, which again, they can grow a little bit bigger. I can harvest them then. And then this is just a white Lisbon onion that's gone into flower. I'm letting that flower. I don't bother myself with it. Let it grow, let it do its thing. And then I have some wild rocket or wild arugula at the very, very front. And then the end bed here is where I have the sweet corn and some of the summer squashes or zucchinis, courgettes growing as well. Now, even though the sweet corn itself hasn't gotten much taller since I planted it, I can definitely see that leaves have gotten bigger and the stems themselves have gotten thicker. So they have been growing. Now I've added a bit of fish blood and bone around the ground here as well. And it's between the, would say, the sweet corn and then the courgettes or zucchinis that are going to benefit from it, because I see a lot of little baby courgettes on here, and that's the definitely yellow version, limona. I'd say the Firenze, I see a few there as well. Plenty of male flowers, but there's a lot of females as well. So a lot of little baby courgettes starting to grow. So again, a couple of weeks, I'd say we'll be able to harvest from here already. On the other side of this huge nepeta I have here, there's a mix of plants in them. I suppose one of them is totally empty. I'm leaving that for the sweet for the winter season. I have a big Portuguese kale in here. Some of it has gone to seed. Not that I need to harvest the seed pods, but I've still left the seed pods to mature. I have loads of seed of it. I have loads of seedlings actually growing already as well. And then there's obviously the more mature plant that I could harvest the leaves of. I have the Greek Gigantea plants in tree planters. I have Kale Nero di Toscana in here. And then there's a lot of garlic, and I haven't actually harvested any of my garlic yet. I have a couple of big clumps there that I left actually in 2 years now to make it nearly like perennialize a bit of a garlic. But otherwise, these elephant garlics here, these haven't been harvested, and neither have the field ones been yet. But you can see that they've actually fully straightened up their flower heads, so they are definitely ready now. But I'm still looking at if it would, some of the more leaves would die down first, because the rust hasn't really affected them yet. So again, it's really just a watch and wait type of a game at the moment with these kind of plants. Lettuces, loads of them have gone into flower, especially this variety. Some of the standard oak leaf one, the red ones, they're happy out, but I can see they are starting to shoot up some flower heads. And then in the far corner, Oka has absolutely taken over that corner planter. Like, look at this. That is some amount of foliage it has made. And I actually should, it has even pulled the, would say, the sweet pea foliage away from the teepee. I should really actually tie it onto it. Same with masho. It hasn't really given the masho a chance to climb up the trellis here. There's a lot of the masho foliage and stems on the ground here, but it's going to find its way. It's the sweet pea more than anything. I have to get onto the teepee. And the same here, the sweet pea is growing away strongly now. There are flower heads starting to form on them. None of them are open yet, a little bit late. I think it was that big fluctuation in the temperatures in month of May that sort of set them back. It was really dry as well. I couldn't keep up with watering these little sort of boxes. But do you see this stunning, nearly blackish purple, or that kind of aubergine color lily? Beautiful. There's more of them coming up near the rose garden as well, but they haven't opened. I think it's just because this has been more exposed to sunlight here and the dry conditions that it started to flower earlier. And then I have a lot of nasturtiums under here as well. Absolutely stunning, flowering so well in here. But this is just beautiful. So not oriental lily, no fragrance out of it, but very pretty to look at. Now, before we go on to the field, I just want to show you these pots of potatoes. So these are the Charlotte potatoes. So these are in tiny buckets, 12 litre or so, very small. And obviously you see there's a lot of sort of sickness look on the leaf. You're absolutely right. These plants do not look healthy at all. But it's not blight. It's more like a fungal or bacterial infection, like black spot, brown spot on the leaves. And I've tried to remove the earlier signs of it, but it's on all the leaves really. So all it's going to happen now is the plant is going to slowly die down, and it probably will affect the amount of tubers I'll get from the potatoes, but I have more than enough of it. And I suppose the main point about it is it's only on one variety, and it's only here because once you see the field potatoes, except for one in the sort of the 30 litre tub, they are absolutely perfect looking. So none of the others are suffering. It's except these little pots, and I'd say it was just down to, again, too hot, too dry. as we had one of the warmest and driest springs on record. So I'd say that just did the damage. I just couldn't keep up with all the watering. And then the temperatures dropped and the heavens opened and it just was raining or raining. So it was just a mix of weather changes, temperature changes that has created this. But let's go and have a look at the field, a world of difference between how the potatoes look there against what's here. Now, as I said, in these planters, the elephant garlic, all their stalks are really nice and tall and straight again, which means that the garlic should be absolutely ready to harvest. But once I've decided that today is the day, for instance, to harvest the garlic, I'm going to harvest it together from here, from the main kitchen garden, and then that's going to give more space for the other little squashes to actually develop more that are just planted underneath here at the moment. And there's some calendula plants again popping up, self-sown volunteers. And one of the gardening jobs I have managed to do in the meanwhile has been actually thinning the carrot plants, which in one of the planters, the planter behind me, I should have done way earlier. The carrots there had grown way too tall. Ideally you do the thinning when they're like 2 inches tall, and you thin them to 2 inches in between each plant. But I did it a little bit later, and I've also resown the parsnips because I've only 2 germinations, so no, it's complete failure really. But I've got some fresh seed and I sowed more of it. Now, it isn't ideal time to be sowing parsnips because you potentially wouldn't get any mature actual roots out of it, but you could still get some baby roots, and there's nobody to say that we're not going to get a beautiful long extended season in the autumn that will also perhaps give it a better chance to grow bigger. So I sowed more parsnip seeds and I thinned the carrots, and obviously I've covered the planters up as well against the carrot root fly. And then the Jerusalem artichokes actually further down, and yacon, they've settled really well into those big bags, those grow bags that I just put some compost into, and I just stuck those tubers into that. They look really, really healthy. You can clearly see how tall the Jerusalem artichokes have grown now. Again, a lot of watering with them during this dry season. The yacon hasn't grown as tall, but there's a lot of stems there. Loads of stems. So much more compact and tidier, but a lot of stem work. And these have grown really well. So a nice little structural 2 plants here in those white big grow bags. And as I'm talking about these grow bags, I'll just show you the big potato grow bags, and then we'll look at what's on my right hand side, your left hand side, this new no dig field bed. So to see the potatoes, obviously we're going to pass by the garlic again, the other big metal over planter with carrots and more of the parsnips. I've harvested a lot of herbs for the herbal teas. I really hope you can clearly see how tall this foliage is, how big it is, how lush it is. So the potatoes seem to be really happy here. There's some that have started to flower in the further away. So I have 3 bags here, and they're all main crop, second early's main crop. There's mixed varieties in the bags, but there is none of the disease signs on any of these potatoes as they are in those little buckets in in the kitchen garden. So, which is obviously something I'm so grateful for, because anytime you see any kind of disease on the potatoes, you'd be always so worried in case it's the blight. At the moment, they all look nice and healthy, and they're in this kind of really open and breezy spot as well. So perhaps that has helped it. But we'll have a look at the buckets, the black plastic bucket potatoes on the field, and obviously we'll have a look at the rest of the plants there as well. So this was obviously our newest addition to the growing areas in here. So this is the field bed as such that I'm calling it. It was just an extension from the kitchen garden that I felt that I ran out of space, and I wanted to put bigger plants in here, plants that will take longer time to mature, and I could start turning the kitchen garden more into a quicker turnaround crops. So what I have here, the very first border is calendula and borage. So there's just a lot of flowers at the very, very front. But then the rest of it is brassica and what's here? There's beetroot in here, parsley, yeah, and then there's chard, there's more brassica plants in there. But the one main thing, oh, cabbage, obviously, well, brassica, but like Brussels sprouts, cabbages, what else, turnips, something like that. But I did get these hoops on, obviously, you see the nets for the butterfly, the cabbage butterfly, and for that I did have to get metal stakes into the ground, because again the field here is so open for all the elements or for all the wind, and yeah, I got the metal stakes in because these metal hoops are hollow in the middle, and I'm just hoping that this is going to help the whole structure just to stand solid and not getting blown over as easily as it always did in the kitchen garden, because I would have used the same hoops in the kitchen garden as well. But that was one of the jobs. Again, these little jobs that just do tend to take a little bit longer than we always expect them to take. But I'm really happy that it's up, and it just feels and looks quite sturdy and solid here. But the plants, that's what we're here to look at, is the plants are looking really well. Really well. The cabbages especially, I think they appreciated all the rain that we got those 2 weeks ago, and even now, like the dark clouds are moving in and out. It's very breezy, very windy, and I hope we won't get a shower anymore this evening. But I think the plants themselves have really appreciated this amount of rain. Now, because I did build them at different times, so I built the first sort of terrace bed because it is such a sloping ground here, and planted it up earlier. I'm quite sure that you can see the size difference between the first row of plants against the second row. And in here, again, as I said, the brassica plants, there's chard in there, purple broccoli. Yeah, there's more beetroot there, but a lot of more chard. But the size of the plants is way smaller, so because this is something I built later. Hello, bud. How are you? So this is something I built later, and these plants are so much smaller. But again, you see the potato plants. I hope you see the potato plants behind me. They are doing really well, really nice, strong growing, except for one bucket here that is showing signs of it's ready for harvesting. And actually some leaves show more of that same brown spot damage, but yeah, I know it's not blight. That's the main thing of it. And then what else I got actually done is managed to plant pumpkins. So we literally emptied out one of our pallet bays, or the compost bays, and brought every bit of the soil here. I can actually see tiny tomato seedlings popping up already, because obviously this isn't sterile compost, it's our own homemade, and I got the pumpkins at least in, and then I took all the sunflower plants that I had, the seedlings I had, and I just plopped them all in here as well. It was such a relief, just such a relief to get them out of my mind's sight, because the longer and leggier they'll get in the greenhouse, the most likely they are not to be able to actually withstand the winds in here. So because obviously they haven't been trained to withstand all the breezes as they were sitting in a nice and cozy greenhouse. So at least they're out here now and they can do their thing. But yeah, all pumpkins out. Just keep them flowering, keep them watered. That was the main thing at the beginning, just to make sure they get as much water as possible. And hopefully again they'll settle quite well. Now I see some yellowing of the leaves, but I'm just hoping that that's just to do with settling into this environment. It is homemade compost, it is chemical free compost. Everything we've harvested is just grass from our field here, the hens bedding and wood chip or the chipped material from our branches here, so nothing has been imported into the soil. So there might be just some kind of imbalance in the soil that they're not happy with. But otherwise, so far the field, this is as much as I've done to the beds here. And yeah, get a little bit chilly. So let's go to the greenhouse and have a look at the update in there as well. Now, everything in the greenhouse is still growing, but I think the only plants that are really thriving here are the ones that were able to put down their proper roots before the heat waves really came to us in sort of end of April, early May. So one of them is the tomato that's a volunteer, so self-sown, don't still know what variety it can be. And then the borage. As the rest of the sort of tomatoes that are planted, they're slowly getting there. Now some of the tagetes, they're actually growing stronger as well than I would have expected, but I also think they're the ones that I didn't physically plant. They're the ones that are volunteers that were self-sown, probably just to do with the extreme temperatures. No plant really likes to be constantly in 40 degrees, and this isn't our normal temperatures that we get here in Ireland, but it's just really dry, really hot, like nearly a month, you know, from end of April and the first half of May for sure. It was really hot, really roasting. So the growth was stunted. So I can see they're catching up. So all is fine that way. A couple of cucumbers, some survived, some didn't. And at the moment, the one that's growing the strongest is the one that I brought as a sort of small plant that I just had to pot up. So there's small mini cucumbers on those, but obviously not ready for harvest yet. And then just the dwarf purple French beans. They're also growing really well, because I could see there's plenty of flowers on those as well. So they're doing okay, they're happy out. So it's really just like a patience game now, just to wait for the plants to catch up and keep on feeding them, keep on watering them. And as the temperatures are more normal now and more pleasant, much more what they're sort of happy to grow in. I had to go and get myself a jumper. It's the breeze is actually quite chilly. But look, green roof, exactly the same as it was after the storm. So that is one of the projects for the end of this summer now, that we're going to tidy that up. So I haven't done anything, but the plants are growing, weeds are growing, everything is growing up there as well. Even though it did show signs of, I suppose, distress during the dry season. I did not water it, didn't do anything with it. The seasons are actually really tolerant to, because they're able to absorb obviously the water in themselves. But I'll talk all about, as I said, the summer plans, but I'll show you now the new feathery friends as well. So you might know that we had a few losses with the hens, and we're after getting 4 new hens just to join the flock. And they seem to be getting on fine. They're young hens, except for one. We're not sure what's the story with that one. It looks a little bit like a cockerel, but we're quite sure it is a hen. So, and we're not sure about what age it was. We didn't actually check. We should have asked, but we didn't. We were just so blown away by their looks that, it's drama. Is there drama? Oh, Pepper, you're so pretty. So we got 2 different varieties. 2 are Rhode Island Red. They're the youngest. They're light brown in colour, so Rhode Island Red. And then we've got 2 Summers, which are like a Dutch breed, much bigger. And out of those 2, one is right here next to me. This is Pepper. Yeah, Pepper, you're a good girl. And the other one is the one that we're not sure about, if it's a cockerel or if it's not. But so we're quite sure it's a hen, but it's just that it might be more grown. And also, because they're so new, they're only like a week they've been together, so the pecking order is still being established. So there's quite a bit of sort of pecking at each other as well. So we just have to keep observing it. That's why we have actually chair now here in the run, that whenever it's possible, we'll come here and sit here and just observe them and look at them. But the Rhode Island Reds, they're such sweethearts. They're absolutely beautiful girls. They're so friendly. Not that used to being handled yet, but really, really friendly. The Black Rock Blossom is the only one that's really like the true baba of the hen group. Come on here, Blossom. 1 second there. Yes. Yeah. So she's the one that's the happiest to be picked up and to be sort of cuddling with. Yeah, aren't you the bestest of girls? You are. You're so used to us now. You are. Nice and calm. And she's not the lowest in the pecking order, but she's not really at the top either, because the 2 Summers are so much physically bigger. She's quite small. She's only a little bit bigger, and she's fully grown than the Rhode Island Reds, who are just teenagers, aren't they? Yeah, you're the bestest of girls. So I let the hens peck away at the grain now that I sort of scatter around the grass here, because they have to get settled for their roosting as well, and that's a whole nother ordeal. We've provided a lot of different roosting areas for them, but just getting them settled is an ordeal. And it's quite late in the evening. It's just these long summer evenings, isn't it? But the summer schedule and YouTube. So I suppose I've been on the YouTube now for a couple of years, but at the beginning of this year, for sure, I wanted to start putting out weekly updates, which I have been able to do up until sort of end of May, sort of when the schools finished up, and our son is just in his secondary school year. So and I was able to, it was the weekends I would spend the most time in the garden. I was able to do gardening jobs and obviously then fill them and put those videos out for you for the next week. And all was well. I was able to keep up with that weekly schedule. But now with the summer, there are so many different celebrations, festivities happening. And then I also sort of, for some reason, only literally a couple of weeks ago, I came to realizations that, oh my God, our boy is growing up, and maybe this summer is the last one. Maybe I'll be able to stretch out next summer as well. And then after that, he'll be way too cool to be hanging out with his parents, wanting to go anywhere with us. So yeah, I don't have that much time to garden between all of it. And also I wanted to really have us to make an effort and spend more time together as a family, while he still wants to hang out with us. I felt very guilty about it, because YouTube is not easy. It's hard enough work, and I thought, like, I put so much work and effort into it that I don't want to just abandon it, and not that you won't watch it, that obviously anybody that's genuinely still interested in what we're doing here, they'll come back, but I know the YouTube algorithm is probably going to punish me for it. But then I was thinking, like, in a bigger picture, like the algorithm side doesn't matter. Probably I shouldn't feel too guilty about that side of it, that I should prioritize family a little bit more, and obviously as much time as I get to spend. Actually, during the summer, I sort of try to enjoy the garden more anyway, rather than doing like these any kind of big projects, or like there isn't that much gardening to do during the summer, to be really honest about it. I tend to do most of my sort of projects, yeah, in spring, in autumn, when it's sort of slightly cooler weather anyway, and it tends to be a bit drier as well, depending on the season. But during the summer, yeah, I try to just enjoy the garden more. So I wouldn't be physically gardening that much, so there wouldn't be that much content there to put out. And to be honest about it, I'm more of a talker in my head. I'll be talking away to myself, I'll be discussing things in my head as I'm gardening, as I can't really just sit down with the camera and go round and round about a subject unless I'm really hands in the soil and sort of discussing a particular topic. Yeah, I wouldn't be able to just talk about nothing for half an hour. I'm just much more hands-on. I'd rather do something and we'll discuss about it then, or we'll talk about the plans and we'll do it. So obviously if I get more chances to actually do some gardening and I'll be able to film it, I'll be able to give you an update. But as such, I do not see a regular schedule happening during the summer, I'm afraid. So yeah, so we'll definitely be trying to go out somewhere as a family, like say little travel trips, or like if we have family get-togethers. As I said, there's a lot of festivities and celebrations ahead of us. We're not going on any holiday or anything, but it's just those little, yeah, it just takes one day and you really can't get much done, especially with camera. Once you bring the camera out, everything takes at least twice the time that it would if you don't have to worry about the camera and recording it and thinking of the angles and thinking how to make it interesting for you when you're watching it. So so yeah, so those are my thoughts about the summer schedule and what my plans are for summer. So yeah, if I get to do more things, if I feel like, oh yeah, actually this is quite a good change now between the plants, and thinking of that, I forgot to show you the garage border. I'll just put like a clip in about that difference. Obviously I'm not going to walk all the way back up there. I just thought of it because I promised in spring that I'm going to show you that in summer, and it's looking so lush, so voluptuous at the moment. So that's the garage border, that's pretty much, except for the rose and then a couple of the hydrangeas that are there, you would not even know there's all those hostas and herbaceous perennials hiding under the soil. So yeah, I'll put the clip how it looked like in spring when I was weeding it and mulching it and cleaning it up. Looks like now. That just came to my mind because I really wanted to show you that as well, that how extreme the difference is in the growth. That it didn't look like the planter was totally empty and there was no plants at all in there. No, they were just all hibernating under the soil. So there you go. So that's just that little extra piece of garden tour for you there. But yeah, so so as plans go, we definitely need to get that roof fixed. That green roof for the shed, timber shed, needs to be fixed. It's been put on long finger for a couple of years and I still haven't done the green roof on this chicken run, coop run roof either. which literally now, because the way the storm tore down that roof of the timber shed, I just want to transplant the plants from there over to here. That's the quickest, easiest way. So to build a new sort of framework, get the weed membrane down and get a bit of soil, pea gravel, and the seeds in here, and then get that roof off and get it freshly recovered. So that's one of the biggest jobs we're planning to get done during this summer, maybe towards the end of it. But so otherwise, I hope you enjoyed the garden tour, and if you have any questions, any suggestions, recommendations, anything like that, about anything that you saw, or if you have questions about any plants that you saw, do pop them into the comments box below. And hopefully it won't be long before I'll put up another update, but it's just not going to be regular, it's not going to be weekly. So if you don't have the notifications on yet, pop them on if you want to get the first sort of ding about that there's an actual video that has come out. Then do that. But otherwise, thank you so much for joining me today, and we'll see you next time.